How was everything in Vegas, by the way?
It was
I saw a
good.
little bit of your stuff.
Yeah. No, it was all right. It was a long week. But
sure.
It was good. So I made $1.50 on my.
I was gonna
sports
say,
bet, so.
you can't go wrong betting the exact same thing for both teams.
Yeah. I truly thought Phoenix was going to win Game 6, and I'm like, okay, well, they'll get it in Game 7. I know nothing. So.
Oh, no. To be fair, I don't think the Suns know anything either. So.
Oh, no, they do not. No, they do not. What's up, YouTube?
Luka freaked.
How are you guys doing?
Hi, YouTube. I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, very good. It's been a minute. We haven't streamed for a couple weeks. It's good to see you.
Yeah,
guys.
this weird. Let's see here.
Whoa. Should I text Johnny and see where he's at?
Yeah, let's see. Now that gives me time to do probably one more article about the Suns.
Yeah.
Because it's a perfect mixture of like Luka finally like that whole team really coming into their own, and the Suns just like completely imploding.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you have all the Arizona sports commentators saying Phoenix has never been good.
Yeah, only their best regular season in franchise history, but yeah. But what does it matter, right? Like that's the thing. What does it matter?
Phoenix. I'm gonna save this quote for the actual stream because it's too good.
Okay.
My goodness. Yeah, I don't even know what they're thinking right now because, yeah, they're imploding. It's great.
What's a nice way to say Johnny, hurry up? I'm trying to say it nicely. Johnny, we're ready when you are. Is that? I don't want to sound passive aggressive because I'm truly not.
Oh, I got you. Don't worry. I have something drafted for you.
Okay.
Johnny, if you don't show up in the next 2 minutes,
see, I'm worried that like something
Reds are going to throw another losing no hitter.
What? No, I'm trying not to be passive aggressive. Well, here's my reasoning, right? My reasoning is like, what if something's like actually not good with Johnny right now, and then I send him a really nasty message, and then it makes the situation worse. But no, I'm not saying that's what you should do.
I'll do
I'm
something
saying
that's funny.
I'm saying, yeah, that's the way my brain works. I'm not saying that's the correct thing to do. But
So you're gonna do
I'm trying to think. I almost think he had a soccer game tonight. Look, everyone. It's the 5th in goal famous YouTuber.
Oh, hello.
So maybe that's my thought. Is maybe it went long and he's driving back now. I don't know.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. I mean,
anyways, YouTube, yeah, welcome into the stream where the stream has become Where is Johnny? It's a manhunt. So if you have any good ideas,
y'all gotta start.
Most of you are gonna watch this after it's already happened. So that
we have to start putting down. This is incentive for you guys to come in early, or in this case, technically 10 minutes late. We need to start setting a line.
Yeah,
we need to start setting a line and like how many minutes it'll be after we start.
Yes.
Don't worry. He just got back.
We really
should.
We really should.
And then he's gonna start.
that was a good response.
Good. Like, that's just passive aggressive enough.
Yeah. YouTube just a little insight for you guys. Behind the paywall. There's Johnny. It worked.
Behind the paywall. Hey.
Hey, sorry guys.
No, you're good.
My laptop was totally dead and took forever to turn on.
You're good. Anyways, YouTube, the message was, Johnny, if you don't get in here in 2 minutes, the Reds will lose after pitching a perfect game. That'd be worse than what they did. Actually, that is possible?
Is it technically possible?
No, because errors.
I don't think
an error does that negate a perfect game.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it doesn't. Okay, never mind.
I mean, I guess perfection. It's high standard.
Yeah. Does it?
I'm pretty sure an error does.
Yes, because I don't think it's. That could be a thing.
The Reds would find a way.
I know they would. That's what worries me. I worry by searching this in Google that.
You're speaking it into existence.
Bob's gonna hear it and go, "Ooh, interesting." Although I was listening to Comment Man today, and they're like, "Hey, lean into it. Like, if you're gonna be bad, if you know you're gonna be bad this season, like, why not try and be the worst team and make at least it fun to watch how bad it is? Like, what if it was the Pirates last year? You did it on purpose.
Okay, so you are correct that an error disrupts a perfect game. Now, there is a very unique situation in which you, as an outfielder, or really probably an infielder, could be trying to catch a foul ball and miss, and that would be an error, but the pitcher still gets that player out. Because that can still be called an error. So technically you can have an error in a perfect game, but yeah, as far as a base runner, yes, you're correct. They'll find a way.
Instead of picking the number 1 overall pick, can I pick the number 2 overall pick?
I don't.
I want to pick the Portland Trailblazers to pick number 2 overall.
I don't care.
Because they are cursed to pick number 2 overall forever and all eternity.
I'll allow it.
Number 1.
We can discuss whether that's allowed on the podcast, but I mean, I'll allow it.
Now, this is actually like a really good question because it honestly could be so many of them.
Yeah, I felt like we needed something kind of dumb to pick, so that I thought that was a good idea. That happens.
Oh my
Tuesday,
gosh, the Cavs have a chance. 0.5%.
You're telling me there's a chance.
There is a chance. Number 1 overall pick this year, though, is not a huge deal. Like, there's not like this is the guy.
Right.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what people think of like Holmgren but yeah, generally, yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
You had a lot of people stay in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So getting that NIL money.
The Cavs don't want Chet Holmgren, though. They already have a forest.
Or do
Oh, that's the one thing I forgot to look up.
At that point, it's literally the Amazon. The Cavs are just the Amazon.
Forgot to look up conference divisions. I was so busy.
Oh yeah,
watching tape on Luka.
Yeah, for real. Josh, that one's more of a that one's more like a theory talk, like just our thoughts. I mean, I put the ACC there, like they're thinking about doing it, and the 3-5-5 format's basically like you always play the same 3 teams, and then the 5 other teams rotate. So that's.
Oh, I see.
So it's more just like speculation. Like, do you like this? Do you not? Do you want to see the Big Ten do it? Do you want to see the SEC do it? That's more just of your opinion thing.
Got you. Yeah. Okay. Can do that. We can also talk about how Nick Saban said that there is parity within.
Yes,
the
please bring
NCAA.
that up actually, because that was laughable. Yeah. Also, my Wi-Fi is struggling, as apparently Johnny's is struggling worse. So.
I think mine is also. Okay, I'm okay for now.
Yeah, I know I've been having some problems. It appears that Johnny's problems have been. Is Johnny's frozen for you, right?
Absolutely frozen, yeah.
Well, he's frozen for stream too, so that's fun.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, no, I'm gonna keep an eye on mine. Obviously, I'm gonna probably have to disconnect every now and then because either one, like I have a history of like this network, either of the DTS networks dropping out after about like almost like a timeout after like 15 minutes. So I'll just watch that and make sure I'm not talking.
Yep.
Or if I do, I actually keep talking, and that way at least it's recorded.
Yeah.
And if it's a good take, you can do your editing magic.
Yep.
So now the over/under is.
Oh yeah! Wow. I mean, if you had the under, then you're an idiot.
No one never take the under.
Never take the
under.
We didn't even set it, and that was the worst decision you've ever made if you picked the under.
Yes.
So, yeah. I did not pick the over or under. I just picked teams when I was in Vegas. I picked. So yeah, here's how I won my first stream, and I guess I'll probably talk about this in a little bit. But I picked the Heat to win, and then I picked the Suns to win. So the Heat were actually underdogs, so I made a little bit more money on that pick than I did the Suns. So I came out with $1.50, which I spent on a Panera Bagel yesterday. So
worth it.
Yeah, free bagel.
Gambling always pays off, kids.
Yeah, yes, definitely. I have thought about that though.
This is
with like college football. Like Johnny does a good job every week of like, here's some good things to bet. I want to do like actually make that more of an official part of our shows, like and keep track of how much money you would have lost or won if you follow Johnny's.
I do love this. So. That actually would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
See, this is when I watch movies like Uncut Gems, where like I don't know if have you guys seen that one?
What movie?
Uncut Gems. It's that movie with Adam Sandler and Kevin Garnett.
Sorry. Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. Like I was Josh Chafty's music. Uncut Gems. Oh, TikTok.
Yeah.
So in that, like, Adam Sandler's character is a jeweler and also like a compulsive gambler who's like has like 5 or 6 layers of debt, and he gives like this rare gem as like collateral to like a deal he's making with Kevin Garnett back in like 2008, or whenever he was like moving through, and like whenever they won the finals.
Yep.
But like they're making the amount of bets he made, the amount of like insider like sports, like I've never heard parlay more times in my life. I don't. It's too scary. Like I honestly got so scared. Like I don't even want to like.
You don't want to
Bet on
enter
a
that at
simple
all
over.
because then
I
you
don't even
could
want to
become
like
this
bet on like a
person.
simple over under anymore.
Yeah, I get that.
Like there is so many ways to make it fun,
Yeah,
and then very quickly not fun.
right.
Because he tied. He was like, oh yeah, I want Kevin Garnett first. I want Kevin Garnett first touch. I want it first. I want him first shots. I want points. I want rebounds, and I want the Celtics by however much. And he parlayed that all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, buddy,
Yeah.
Don't gamble, kids. It's never worth it.
Yeah, because then like you get 4 out of 5, and then that's just crushing because you get the 5th.
Oh
one
yeah,
wrong.
then you're dead. Yeah, and I'm like, bet for fun. Bet like $1.
Yeah. I do. That's actually
And
something I thought of though during the NFL. I want to do once sports betting's legal, which in Ohio, which I think is next year. I want to take like $1 per week and parlay like 5 NFL games a week, and just for fun, like just see. I'm like, I'll hit eventually, and if I'm betting $1 a week, yeah, it's not horrible. Anyways,
Yeah, big
that's
$5.
neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, right. Johnny, you good? Your Wi-Fi cut out there for a second.
Yeah. I think we're all good now.
Okay,
Cool.
I think my laptop battery is just starting to like die.
Oh, did your laptop died again?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm kind of letting it like build up a little
Yeah,
bit.
if we need to take a second, we can.
So yeah, if you just want to give like 2 minutes, and it should be fine.
Sure.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, sorry, that battery's just kind of going to crap at this point. If I don't have it like plugged in, it's basically not functioning.
Yeah.
So, which is fine. I've had this laptop for a while at this point, so it's done an okay job. It's just always the batteries that go first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a summer or an early fall project for me. Just grabbing a new battery for this because the needs to service now for the past 2.5 years.
Yeah. Yes. Josh, congratulations on being the only one to get soccer right. And
I got soccer right and you didn't.
So Arsenal's completely bombing. They lost today too.
Did they really?
Oh gosh, they're just imploding.
Dang.
Yeah, they literally have imploded because Tottenham won their next game as well, which means that Tottenham's now up 2 points going into the last week. So now Arsenal not only needs to win the last game, they also need Tottenham to lose. Because if Tottenham even ties, they are the goal differential leader, like for sure. So they've screwed themselves, though. Did it to themselves. So that's fun.
There's no way you believe this. Sorry, I'm just looking at
Who
the
was
Nick Saban quote again. There's no way.
Who was the number one
There's
pick?
no
Who had
way.
the number one pick last year?
In the NBA, Detroit.
Yeah, it was Detroit.
Yep. I'm gonna do it again, back to back, because the draft is our Super Bowl. Doesn't matter the sport. I'm gonna pull a Jacksonville, back to back.
Jacksonville might have a back-to-back-to-back.
I think Houston will give them a run for their money this year, but we'll see. Uh-oh.
I just saw some stats. We're gonna have to talk about Nick Saban. I have some stats that are great.
Good. Johnny died again, so this is fun.
No, it's not gonna be good.
No. Plug your laptop in before you go to bed, kids.
Children.
Well,
any luck with the house searching?
No, we're kind of just we're still looking.
Still looking cool.
Yeah, YouTube when the backdrop looks significantly different in like 2 months, maybe, or whenever it does, then you'll know.
Whenever it does look different, you'll know why.
We have found a house. So yeah, still kind of looking. We've looked at like 3 or 4.
Okay.
So we're starting to get an idea of things and how crazy the market is and all that. So
yeah.
I'm trying to think. We may need Johnny to. See if he can get his Mac to live long enough to record, but like jump on Discord with his phone. I may text him that.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that could work. Is there a way? Now he'd need another cable. Could our mics theoretically plug directly into? Oh no, because then you'd have to charge it. But it could work temporarily.
Yeah, I was just thinking like if he's not running a video call.
Software?
Yeah, if he's not running the video call at the same time, like the recording shouldn't take like, well, I don't know, shouldn't be like crazy, but the Discord call is probably zapping it pretty good. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna see what's the biggest thing on my.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You could probably.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm just communicating with you guys, I'm usually around 50% like CPU load.
Yeah.
Recording's not a big hit, but
yeah.
Oh. Stop emailing me, everyone.
All right, well, since we got some time to kill, let's check Twitter, see what's happening there.
Oh yeah. Anybody angry? Phil Mickelson. He's been doing stuff. I know we don't have time to talk about it, but that's really interesting.
We can talk about it now while while our YouTube audience is waiting on us to start. If they haven't skipped ahead already.
Yeah.
Which is fine. If you do, I'm not blaming you, by the way. That sounded accusatory. We don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. You would think that, at least in my mind, I would think, man, I feel like I would have enough money to, like, I wouldn't need to, like, feel the need to go into, like, there's very few reasons why I would openly join and, like, be a spearhead for a Saudi Arabian country.
Yeah.
No problem with, like, the people or the culture there. It's the government itself has a very long and storied history of a lot of ish.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Was it like 25 mil is the minimum like purse or like the minimum like earnings per game or whatever? Like it just feels
I saw things that he was like going to make $100 million because he was going to be like in it, but also like a part owner or something weird.
Oh, he was going to get, okay.
Yeah.
But then again, like, where are they going to even get no broadcast is going to pick it up. Like, do you want me to navigate to an app? Do you want me to subscribe to yet another streaming service that I'm not going to do?
Fair.
That's almost the beauty of golf. Is like, you can just kind of like, the major ones are on networks. And if you're just scrolling or, swiping through, you're like, oh, you know what? I got like 20 minutes to kill. I'll watch a little bit of a very calm guy describe golf to me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Yeah, pretty wild. I mean, yeah, and whatever the way he and I'm with you. I haven't like followed it super carefully, but like, it sounds like the way he handled it really kind of destroyed some relationships. And
well, he was like, he took almost like time out of his day to like sever those relationships.
Yeah, right.
It's one thing of like, oh, this is a quote taken out of context, but he was literally like just talking to a reporter and decided to bring this stuff up.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was like part of the interview. He was just like, I guess I got a spare 5 minutes.
Oh, I found a good. There's a clip of Kevin Durant and David Letterman while Kevin Durant's high, apparently. So that's fun.
Oh, that's cool. Not being interviewed, like not on the show, right?
No, it's like a Netflix thing or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Fun. And it doesn't even, we can't even talk about it in this era or like this podcast, but man, there is a big controversy going on right now within the Southern Baptists, and it'll bleed over to DTS, about what degrees a woman can have, like what degrees a woman can take in seminary. And it's all like stuff that shouldn't matter. But there was a woman who graduated from Southeastern over in North Carolina with with a BA in pastoral studies. So basically my degree with just one or two more leadership classes. And it's like the amount of like people threatening to like pull funding from like the big three seminaries. And I'm like, first off, no one is qualified to be a pastor after 4 years of a BA degree, like, period. I'm not even going to be qualified after 8 years or 9 years of schooling, depending on how long I take this. And secondly, like, the degree programs that Southeastern offered, like, if they're like, oh, you can take any of the 11 other degrees, you just can't take a pastoral theology degree. Like, all the other degrees for like what I know this woman wants to do, they're all dumb. Like, they wouldn't fit her, what her needs are. Mm-hmm. And I realized we came out of Cedarville, and Joy is on the Council for Biblical Manhood and Womanhood board. Like, she's a board member. Because she's friends with Patterson. It's just very.
I mean, I've seen some Twitter things back and forth.
It's not going to hit DTS because DTS doesn't care. But my THM.
We're good.
Hey, welcome back.
Sorry, guys.
Very good.
I know that delayed us a lot.
We always just tell people to take the over.
Yeah, we do.
On what?
We have a few different
Everything.
lines.
Yeah, generally. Yeah.
You're all right. No worries.
No, we're all
my
good.
My day is coming very soon for that.
Well, I will start my recording, I guess, if we're all...
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool.
Check.
Cool. I think I'm good. I might need to turn it up just a smidge. Let me do this. Check. Is that louder? I can't tell. I feel like my audio's been actually
just a
quiet
touch.
in... Check. Am I loud on stream? I think I'm good. Check. I think I'm fine. We'll go with that.
I can check levels.
This is me talking because there's going to be a weird 10-second delay.
I can check levels.
This is me talking because there's going to be a weird 10-second delay.
I can check levels.
This is me talking because there's going to be a weird 10-second delay. Dang it, Josh.
Go on forever. Sounded fine to me.
That's good. All right. I am recording.
I'm also recording.
Cool.
I am recording.
Cool. All right. Let's, I'll get us started. Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I am joined once again by my good friends, Josh and Johnny. Guys, it's good to be back. It is episode 63. We've got a lot to break down this episode. We've got plenty of NBA conversation to come. We'll touch on the NHL playoffs as they move into the second round. Plus, there's some interesting things happening in college football that you won't want to miss. That's all coming up on today's episode. But first, Josh, what's going on, man? How was your week?
Dallas is hot, and I'm not just talking about the fact that it broke 100 today. We are excited. We are going to be in the Western Conference Championship for the first time since 2011. Yep. We're going to get into it later, of course, but Dallas is very very electric right now.
Yeah, that's going to be
Very
a fun
happy.
place to be for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And we
we
will.
didn't even mind that the Stars lost. We didn't even realize
Yeah,
it.
right. I mean, I saw one of the memes going around was the Thanos meme where, a sacrifice had to be made for the Mavericks, and it just happened to be the Stars. So
Listen, the Stars went to the Stanley Cup a few years ago. They've had their time.
yeah.
Let's have the Mavs go, and basically they'll just switch out, and that way the Cowboys never will.
Well, that's probably true. And speaking of, there's a certain NHL team that is now drawing comparisons to the Dallas Cowboys. That's also coming up later. But Johnny, how are you doing, man? How was your week?
Doing good. Apartment complex opened up the pool 2 weeks early. They gave us a 1 day's notice, but can't complain about that. So everything's good.
Nice.
Outside,
Have you been there? Have you tested it out?
Oh, already there. The water's absolutely freezing.
Yeah, they just opened ours, and I was thinking, man, maybe I'll because it's going to be kind of warmish tomorrow, and I'm like, maybe I'll go there, during my lunch break, and just swim a couple laps, and then I thought, well, that's going to be like 60-degree water. I don't know if I actually want to do that or not. So I may not be as brave as you and wait a couple weeks, but yes, pools are open. It's a good time. Summer's here. My wife just got done teaching for the year, so it does truly feel like summer is here. So it's a good time. So let's get right into it because we have a lot to unpack. There was 4 basketball series that all mostly had incredible drama and in the end, blowouts, which was interesting. But let's start with what we saw on Thursday night, and that was a game between the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers. If you are not caught up on that series, Game 6 was happening in Philadelphia. And guys, James Harden, who was in a notable trade with the Brooklyn Nets where Ben Simmons went away. Ben Simmons was the focal point of the 2021 playoffs where he basically disappeared, was afraid to shoot the ball, was afraid to even touch the ball or really do anything. And it was almost like a repeat because James Harden took 2 shots in the second half for the 76ers and scored 0 points in the second half. And it was the Miami Heat in a dominating victory over the 76ers. So the Heat are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But guys, what in the world happened with the 76ers? I mean, that fell apart and fell apart quick.
This was a trade that back in February, Josh Harris was like, this is going to be awesome. He has been quoted on that. The only thing I can think is like, this is simply, I mean, this is obviously because they're now out of the game, they're out of the championship hopes. Like this was, if anything's a must-win game, and I think we sometimes overuse that. Every game's a must-win game. Cool.
Right.
This was genuinely like you can force a game 7, you can come back and figure something out. He just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how else to say it other than there is no, like the Ben Simmons, ironically, comparison is almost apt here, where it just doesn't seem like there is a passion to actually win there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to be like, okay, well, because you can forgive maybe no points. You guys would know better at this because you've actually played basketball, like, real. Like you can forgive no points if you're putting up the efforts. You know what? Sometimes you're just throwing bricks up.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the slumps in baseball. Like there are things that can happen. You're like, okay, you know what? He tried. It just wasn't his night. That's okay.
I don't think you can say that
happens
in this situation.
You can't say that when you put 2 shots up and go,
he plays 0 defense. Not that he's ever been a good defender or even has shown a lot of effort on the defensive end. But Johnny, is it that simple? Is it that James Harden doesn't care enough? Is he just too old? I mean, what is happening with James Harden?
He can't be that old.
Yeah, I mean
what? James is 32, 33.
Yeah.
He is an ancient 32, 33, guys. You have to remember, this is not everybody ages the same. LeBron spends $1 million on his body a year. It is by no accident that he has lasted as long as he has without avoiding a bunch of major injuries. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's not only because of the money, it's because of the sheer effort, will, and determination he has and the sacrifices he makes for his body to be ready. James, let's just call it what it is. Like, James closed a lot of nightclubs. James has not taken care of himself. He showed up to many years being completely overweight and out of shape. James has not been taking care of his body. And that doesn't, when you're in your 20s, that might not affect you.
Get away
But
with
once
it.
you get up into your 30s, all of a sudden, that tiny sprain in your ankle, that tiny roll, that his hamstring injury last year in the playoffs. And I give him a lot of credit.
Yes.
He really worked hard
He
for
gutted it out
Brooklyn
last year.
year against Milwaukee. You could tell he was giving it all he had, and just the hamstring would not allow him to play any better than he did. But you don't recover from that quickly without a lot of hard work, mental preparation, eating right, exercising, going to physical therapy, and actually sleeping. Like, as simple as it sounds, these are massive things. I still don't believe James does that. Or even if he does it now, it's kind of Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony didn't start doing any of that till he was 35. It's too late.
Yeah.
You have to have those habits in place, because that is built up body trauma that eventually just wears you down. James can't get by anybody on offense anymore, which means he's not getting fouled along with the rule changes. So he's not shooting 18 free throws a game like it felt like he was at times in previous years. He's just not getting them. And then at the same time, like, he's never been a great defender ever since he left OKC. He never was going to be, but he's lost a step. So now you're even worse defender. Now you can't even get around people. Now there's no spacing. Nobody's threatened by him. So they go push him up and crowd him at the 3-point line. It's really a shame, because Joel Embiid should probably be his best partner ever, just from a sheer schematic standpoint. But James has lost it.
And
that doesn't
Joel
mean
Embiid said as much. He straight up said that in the press conference, and he's not wrong. I know people are like, "Wow, way to slam your teammate." I'm like, "Well, maybe," but
Joel's too
he's
honest sometimes.
And you're right. He's dead honest, and he's 100% correct in this situation.
Yeah.
For James, it's not like he's just completely done. You saw game 4. He's going to have times where he can pop off. And you're, oh, James is back. No, that's the key. He has lost his ability to be consistent day in, day out. But let's also not forget, this is what he is in the playoffs. Yes. He flames out. And when the moment is bigger, he vanishes. He has always vanished. I mean, Houston, with that lead up on the Warriors, had him on the brink, couldn't finish him. Anytime Houston needs him, part of this is just because his workload typically on the team is absurd.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the case this year, but he gets to the fourth quarter, he's dead. He gets to the end of a long playoff series, he's dead in the water. He just doesn't have anything left. You know, people talk all the time about being clutch. James has never been described as clutch, never should be. When's the last time he hit that one magical shot in the regular season against the Warriors? Give me some more examples of James coming in clutch at the end of games to win them, even in the regular season, really. That's just not who he is. He's a high volume, high usage, big time scorer. But now he's an old version of that. And while it's not as bad as maybe Russell Westbrook, because I think James is more self-awareness than Russell, it's not good. And it's not someone that you want to be paying max dollars to.
And that's the
there's
question.
a lot of discussions.
Well, especially when you have a guy like Joel Embiid, who has very similar, not similar in exact, but he had to play through multiple and he still got 20 points, 12 rebounds. At some point, the injuries are there, the age is there. Those are all real factors. But there are people who are willing to push through those because in their mind, they believe that there is something greater out there, and that is seeking a championship. Why else was Harden trying to force a trade? Other than being maybe unhappy in Brooklyn. There are things he wanted this to happen. And now he's not producing for a team and he has an option to go max contracts. If I'm Joel Embiid, I'm going to give him more snark. I would be
chase him out
absolutely
of there?
ticked off. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I'm going to put the work in. If you're not, then what good are you here?
Yeah.
And that might be harsh. And again, it's not entirely, he is 32 and we need to understand that. But people have pushed through worse. Again, LeBron invested in his body because he valued what it would accomplish.
You don't have to be this way at 32.
You don't.
You don't have to be.
And like we get that, like there's always going to be a few exceptions. Not everyone can be LeBron.
Right.
No one's gonna be Tom Brady again for a while. Like, and different things work for different people. Ben Roethlisberger lasted fairly long, never did TB12. You know, like
did the opposite.
Didn't
quite frankly
do great at the end, but you know what? He tried.
He
He tried all the way to the end.
He did.
He was a fighter, and so I think a lot of this is like there is a lack of drive underneath.
Yes,
he has his money. I don't know. I don't want to go that far and accuse him of not caring anymore. But like, what else do you see?
The evidence is there that he doesn't care.
He went 4 of 9. I like in a must-win game.
Think it's more he just doesn't have it. Then I think it's care.
And maybe
I truly think that.
And there's going to be some people, and maybe they're not wrong, that are going to point the finger at Doc Rivers and say that was on you.
Well,
that James Harden was not getting the ball enough. Now. He is in hot water, and again, I am not going to pretend to know that situation well enough, as a guy that watched, a handful of their playoff games to really know if Doc Rivers is one of the issues here. He certainly doesn't appear to be a solution at this point. I mean, his title was a long time ago at this point, so maybe it is time to move on. And again, like you see, when something this disastrous happens, a lot of times the coaches take the fall, whether they deserve it or not. And look, maybe he does. But yeah, Josh, I don't think you're wrong. Like all the evidence pointing to either, you're right, Johnny, one of two things. Either he didn't care or he didn't have the stuff to make a difference. And it's probably a little bit of both because yes, offensively, that maybe points to the fact that he had, maybe lost his confidence in his shot or thought that his teammates were better options. But that doesn't excuse the fact that you just play literally zero defense. And it's disappointing too, because on paper, this Sixers team had the best chance since the process began because of the emergence of a guy like Tyrese Maxey and just the incredible performance that he's had throughout the playoffs. I mean, he was at times their leading scorer. And I'm really excited for Maxey. And maybe that's the duo moving forward. Maybe Harden does just kind of ride off into the sunset, at least in a 76ers uniform. And the Sixers try to kind of retool the Tyrese Maxey Joel Embiid combination and then see who they can add to that. I don't know who that is. I don't know. But I think I
think your ideal, there's an ideal here for Philly. The ideal to me is actually that Harden picks up his option this offseason, which I probably think he does.
Yes.
Because I don't know if somebody else is going to pay him that. So it's a lot of money. I think it's like $44 million. That's a lot, but it's 1 year and then it's done. Yep. You get to see it. Does this work? You get a full season with Embiid and Harden. Maybe Joel is able to get that a little bit more of that old Harden. The East is open. Honestly, I think the whole NBA is wide open. Yeah, heck, maybe you get the old Harden for a year and you make a run at this.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to have 1 full year of this with Embiid and Harden. But then you're not locked in. Maybe you could even, if it's that bad, maybe you can even make a deal with the desperate team at the trade deadline for Harden. You have options. Philly is not locked in. And if Harden doesn't sign, they're going to have a lot of freedom and cap room to make some moves for some additional role players for maybe an ascending Maxey and Embiid and fill out that roster in full around them in a better, more dynamic way. Maybe that works.
Yeah, maybe it does. And look, we've spent probably 10 minutes talking about the failures of the 76ers. Let's also be clear, Miami just earned that series. They were the better team, and a ton of respect should go to Miami, to Jimmy Butler, to Bam, to Tyler Hero, all those guys, even like guys like Victor Oladipo getting in there, playing some key minutes down the stretch. And so credit Miami for putting together a really impressive performance in Game 6. Their defense is really tough, and that's going to be a common theme as we go. So the Miami Heat headed to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they will meet the Boston Celtics, who took care of the Milwaukee Bucks in TD Garden. Game 7, you thought you were going to have a big-time clash like you've seen for 6 games in this series, and instead it was all Boston. It was Game 7 Grant Williams. They basically just gave him the ball, and he chucked about 23s and made 9 of them. And that was kind of the story of this series, because Boston made a ton of threes and Milwaukee I mean, they're still trying to shoot threes and they still haven't made one yet. I mean, it was one of the most embarrassing 3-point shooting and just generally shooting performances that we've seen from a team. And guys, I guess your thoughts on Boston and Milwaukee. Again, it's kind of one of those things, all the credit in the world to Boston for a well-earned victory in a tough series against a really good team. But ultimately, the Chris Middleton injury, where he went down in game 2 of the first round with a knee injury, it finally came around to bite Milwaukee, and it came back in a big way.
Yeah. I hate being that guy because I don't believe in this because, listen, you can go back in the entire NBA history of champions, and every single year there's a critical injury that affects the outcome of who wins the NBA title.
Yep.
Milwaukee probably wins this series with a fully healthy roster and Chris Middleton.
Mm-hmm.
They probably win game 6, and this is over. That being said, let's focus on Boston. Boston played a phenomenal series. Honestly, I think Boston and Miami is just going to be an absolute
Oh my goodness.
war.
I can't wait.
They can rotate and switch 1 through 5. Really, both rosters can and will. These teams feel like they win off sheer willpower at times, not off skill, not even off the best player on their team. They're very different. Where Jason Tatum, it's not that he hides in big moments at the end of games, but he doesn't go and demand the ball. He's a little passive, more passive than you'd like out of a player so skilled and dominant. Jimmy, at times, like he averages closer to 20 points a game. But then as soon as there's a game that you need him the most, he'll drop 45 on you randomly. It's almost like he's just waiting to do it to you. They have sporadic 3-point shooters for both of these teams. That'll be just crazy to see. I mean, so sporadic. Both of these teams, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown is even like up and down and up and down. Peyton Pritchard. You're going to see Kyle Lowry and Marcus Smart probably just diving headfirst at the floor without either one of them touching one another. It's going to be petty as heck. Bam and Al Horford and Grant Williams going at each other in the middle. It's going to be a fun series. Don't be surprised if some of these actually finish under 100. This will be a really, really interesting series. Boston just took it to Milwaukee, and I guess I'm surprised with the size advantage Milwaukee had down low that they were not able to take better advantage of that and win the series for that reason. I think having Chris Middleton would have given them a little bit more variety and somebody that they could lean on to close games. I think that was a little bit of an issue early on in the series. Chris Middleton kind of is the closer for that team.
Yes, he is.
Not Drew Holiday and not Giannis. And that's not really on Giannis. That's just the position he plays. And Joel Embiid's not the closer for Philly because he plays center. That's just hard for a center to really be. And Giannis isn't your traditional center, but he's still really not your closer to make a pull-up jumper. That's just not who he is. So Boston's defense was absolutely phenomenal. And as soon as that game got going, sometimes it's just your day. And you realize it's your day, and Boston was hitting everything. So and that was rough.
Yeah, and sometimes you wake up and then you realize it's not your day, and that's exactly what happened with Milwaukee, who ended up shooting like 12% from the 3. I mean, it was ugly. Giannis, I mean, if you looked at the box score, he had something like, 25 points, 18 rebounds, and however many assists. And you would think, by looking at the box score, oh, wow, Giannis did all he could. Quite frankly, Giannis didn't play that well either. Missed a lot of layups. Just couldn't find a rhythm in the second half, had a tremendous first quarter, and then just couldn't figure it out. But to be fair, you go back and watch film, and there's 3 or 4 guys surrounding him the moment he touches the ball. Normally, he's a great passer. He can find those shooters, but the shooters weren't shooting. They were missing, and then that meant that everyone could crash on Giannis and didn't really have to worry about any outside threats, and that's an easy way to win Game 7 in blowout fashion. Speaking of, Josh... you brought it up in the intro, Dallas. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen such a good old-fashioned butt whooping, and it happened in a Game 7 with Dallas on the road. How did that happen?
How are 2 perspectives going out right now? We're going to start with the one that makes sense.
Okay.
The Mavs are good guys.
Yeah,
they're actually good. we were fooled by, I think, the fears of Luka's injury right before everything. Obviously, the Mavs have always been a top 10 defense, recently, I think those have been the fears of scoring, the fears of making sure that people who are not named Luka can actually score. Like, there was some worries there, but last night, as of the recording of this,
Yes.
everything worked out perfectly. Luka was so good. Obviously, the thing that you're seeing all over the media now is how he pretty much had the same amount of points by himself that Phoenix did in the first half.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And you love to see it. Oh man, I'm sure you guys saw the one where he just literally just flattened a guy, stood there for 3 seconds, and just went ahead and shot it. I love this guy. But that notwithstanding, I think we also saw, he benched him, or was benched fourth quarter because it's fine.
They're up 50.
They didn't need him.
Yep.
Up 50. That's, of course, finally, everyone's doing their job. Congratulations, everyone. The Suns kind of just imploded.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been funny to read is now, and again, you guys both picked, you guys both.
I picked Phoenix.
You picked Phoenix, and I believe you had Phoenix in. So, this was generally a favorite team. This was the team that people were fearing. This is what we were talking about when the Mavs were doing the play-in. We're like, okay, so if they get to the Suns, they better go in with a little bit of rest, all of this. We were talking about this. So there's already been a precedent for the Suns were a good favorite, and they were 6-point favorites going into it because, again, the home team has always won a game in this series. So statistically, of course, this is going to happen. I've been reading some Phoenix sports sites. They have told me, no. The Suns have always been bad. And we just didn't realize it.
Oh, interesting.
They give credit to the Mavs defense, top 10 defense. Oh boy, Williams told Dallas coach Jason Kasich, "Hey, you got us. Good job." Offense looked broken. They're blaming James Jones now.
It's not James Jones' fault.
No. And they were making comparisons to the Pelicans. And I just want to hear this quote here. Phoenix only got this far because it had really good players.
Wow, what insight.
The full quote is, Phoenix only got this far because it had really good players, bailed a team out too often. Meaning you have good playmakers on your team, meaning you have good players.
Right.
Guys, we're a terrible team. We just happen to have really good players who are really good at making plays when it counts.
Oh my! I mean, here's a stat. Here's a stat, right? And this speaks to both things that you said. Luka being amazing and the Phoenix Suns being less than that. Luka in this 7-game series, had more points than Devin Booker, more rebounds than DeAndre Ayton, who's 7'1", more assists than Chris Paul, and more steals than Mikal Bridges. And I think, look, Luka is incredible. He's insane.
Yes.
Also, let's point out Dallas missing their arguably second best player in Tim Hardaway Jr. for the entirety of this postseason. And they haven't missed a beat. The role players have been just tremendous. You've had Jalen Brunson come through when Luka, in the short moments of time where Luka is on the bench, it then becomes the Brunson show, and he's been fantastic. 4-year play out of Villanova. What he's been able to do has been amazing. You've had key games along the stretch from guys like Dorian Finney-Smith hitting 8 threes in the game. Obviously, Kleba. Spencer Dinwiddie had 30-plus points last night. They've had, and I don't know how long that's going to be able to continue. Obviously, for them to continue on to the playoffs, you're going to have that basically every game against a stacked Golden State team. But credit to this team. Obviously, Luka is insane. Some of the shots he were making, just your jaw would just hit the floor after some of those step backs and the moves that he makes and how patient he is, getting the switch on DeAndre Ayton and making him dance and dance and dance and finally drilling a 3 in his face or zooming past him for a layup. Luka's insane. But guys, the big conversation is now Chris Paul, because I think all of us would agree he's a Hall of Famer. He's 37. He's had an amazing career, but obviously no NBA title. And guys, the last 5 games, he was really bad. Single digits, averaged 9 points a game, averaged about 4 turnovers, and that was a huge issue for the Phoenix Suns. Turnovers just killed them this series. And that's kind of the conversation now, is what's going to happen with Chris Paul? Was he injured? And even if the answer is yes, this is another instance of a 2-0 lead being blown. Obviously, that happened in the NBA Finals with the Bucks last year, happened in this series because Phoenix jumped out to a 2-0 start. And I don't really know what the answer is. He's just not been able to answer the bell in the playoffs sometimes. I used to be one of those people that felt sorry that he doesn't have a title. I still love Chris Paul, but I don't feel sorry for him anymore. He's had plenty of chances. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, whether it's health or just his, maybe at 37, an ability to make a huge postseason run, especially considering how many games the Phoenix Suns have played in the last, 365 days, if you kind of go all the way back to last season and include the postseason there.
What's interesting, and just even how we're talking about this, last night, again, Sunday night, Chris Paul put 10 shots up versus Harden's 9 against Miami. It's interesting to see just how differently we have talked about these players recently. I don't know if I have any other point to that, but I was just noticing he only put 10 up. I don't know what his final stats were. I'm trying to find that right now, but this is
defense. And
at the same time, this is the fourth time.
Yeah,
This is the 4th time that he has been in this position with his team and blown that 2-0 lead.
Yeah,
while still playing the full series. And so at some point, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? And he may not be doing anything. He might be the unluckiest guy in the world. But
there's a couple things in this series that I thought made some things very clear. Devin Booker is not a number 1 on a championship roster. He is a fantastic number 2. He is not a number 1. And part of that has to go back to before Chris Paul even got there. Phoenix didn't sniff the postseason without Chris Paul getting there. And it was virtually the same roster. Now, I'll give them a little bit of slack there. Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Tyler Johnson needed a few years probably to mature as well. But Devin would get his points. He even scored 70 points one time, and they lost. His stats don't translate to victories. And that matters. I think Devin is a fantastic go-get-a-bucket guy. He is not a leader of a team, though, and he is not the number 1 option on a championship caliber team. The reason they were last year was because Chris Paul was a fantastic number 1 option last postseason. And in the postseason, the backup guards for Phoenix played outstanding when Chris needed a breather. That was such a huge difference compared to this year. This year, they just could not. Aaron, who's the backup again for Phoenix?
They had Cameron Payne and
Cam Payne last run. Cam Payne was fantastic. He'd come in, he'd drop 12, 15 points for you, even at a couple games of 20. It was so good. You could throw him out there. And it wasn't that Chris was playing bad, but Chris didn't have to play 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Chris had to play so much because Cam was playing awful. Even last series, he played awful. They went to a point, Monty Williams was throwing in Landry Shamet instead.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work. And so they need to retool the point guard spot. They got to get Young behind him, Young and someone who can come in and spell minutes and do what they can, because you're locked into Chris for a few more years with that contract. And they were stuck. I don't really blame them for that contract. You have to think now, though, are you going to sign DeAndre Ayton for big money? That is a big indicting issue. Like you guys said, I think Chris is just getting old. Unfortunately, I think he's just running out of time. On the other side, Dallas. Jason Kidd needs to get more credit than he has been.
Yes,
because
100% agree.
The defense was atrocious previously, and they're still, in my mind, really not a very good defensive team. but they have vastly improved compared to what they had before. I mean, it's not even close. It's night and day. They just, part of it's just making another team actually work for a bucket. When they were playing the Clippers a few years ago, it just felt like a shootout, and hopefully Luka had the ball last.
He
Now
scored
it feels
47 in Game 7 and lost. I mean, yeah.
Now it feels like they actually can get a stop, and I'm not like, oh man, if the other team has the ball, like, no, Dallas still has a chance to win. And that sounds very simple, but it matters. It matters. And I don't know how they're going to function in the next round defensively. That's the true test. But Luka he's a top 3 player in the league right now. And I know that's very much up in the air. And I don't think it's LeBron James and giant, canyon in between him and the next guy at number 2 anymore. I don't think we're going to have that probably for a while in the NBA again, with your number 1 guy. And then, number 2's not even close. I think we're all boxed in together. I love Luka. I love Giannis. LeBron's still great. We're looking at Jokic now and Embiid. We don't really know who the number 1 guy is right now. Kevin Durant's still there, but they all have their flaw, which is really intriguing. I love that about the NBA right now. There's so much parity. Everybody's kind of anointing Golden State. It feels like Golden State should and is the clear favorite, but you're one Steph Curry tweaked ankle away, perhaps. From another team sliding through. And that is how the NBA works. And it's fun when you have the parity of these teams where, you know what, like, I don't want a team to win just because the other team's hurt, but we're that close with all of these teams that one injury can shift the whole balance of series. And that's exciting and fun.
It is. The NBA has the parity that Nick Saban thinks college football has. But we can touch on that a little bit later. Completely agree. Johnny, your first point. To me, watching that Game 7, one of the most glaring things is, my goodness, Phoenix needs depth at point guard, and they need it now. Because you're right, the window is closing. And I know that sounds crazy because Devin Booker's still extremely young, and he's extremely talented. But there is a difference between truly being an NBA Finals contender and being a good team that wins a lot of. I mean, look, the Utah Jazz have been in the playoffs for the last almost probably the better part of the decade, right? And they have virtually nothing to show for it. They've won a ton of games in the regular season, and at the end of the day, it hasn't mattered. Now, obviously, a big part of that is some dynasty called the Golden State Warriors probably messed them up along with some other teams. But the reality is, it doesn't matter. The end result is 10 or so years in the playoffs, and you have nothing to show for it. The Suns could definitely be in that situation, and I don't know what they're gonna do in the offseason, but I like this Phoenix team. They've still got a lot of young talent, but they're gonna have to figure it out. And even guys like DeAndre Ayton kind of disappeared at the end of the NBA Finals. You kind of saw that trend again. And I think there's a lot of questions. And to Josh's point, I think apparently people are just leaping for answers that are probably not the correct ones. But I think, something's going to have to be done in the offseason, and we'll see what happens. But yes, we didn't really talk about the series, but Golden State held off the Grizzlies. Just like to say, after the Ja Morant injury, we were speculating last week whether Ja would be playing. He did not, and Memphis actually ended up blowing out Golden State in Game 5 and gave it all they could in Game 6. It was eventually too much Golden State, even despite 2 not great shooting nights from the Warriors, but they've moved on. They win that series in 6. So your 4 remaining teams, Miami and Boston in the East, and Dallas and Golden State in the West. And it's going to be a ton of fun. I think you're going to have basically, the nice thing about this part of the playoffs, guys, is that you have one playoff game a night. You just alternate Eastern, Western, basically until the NBA Finals teams are decided. So that's kind of great. You don't have to worry about like watching 3 or 4 games a day. There's just one per night that you can kind of focus your attention on. So I know I enjoy that, especially with all the other sports going on in the NHL and the playoffs. And there was a bunch of Game 7s in the NHL as well. I know we're not going to spend as much time talking about that, but the playoffs have been tremendous. We had some great series. It didn't really end with a lot of drama. It was just a bunch of blowouts, which was kind of ironic because we finally got a Game 7. Didn't have any of those in the first round. We got a couple in the NBA in the second round, and then they ended up being kind of lame, but very interesting at the same time. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say about those series, but interesting moving forward. So speaking of that segue, Josh, from Nick Saban, let's talk a
Nick
little college
Saban.
football news. Do you want to? I know you wanted to talk about Nick Saban here for a second. Are you ready for that?
I have the quote right here.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And this is obviously, I don't even know what he's talking about. This must have been, I mean, maybe the only thing I could think is like we've been in the past 2 or 3 weeks, we've been talking about NIL and it becoming a little bit more aggressive. We're kind of seeing the full brunt of this. Certain players seem to be taking contracts. Well, in a sense, seem to be choosing schools based on perks, which is one of the things that a lot of NIL detractors warned would happen.
Yes.
And we can talk about that. We'll talk about that more come the fall. But that was perhaps the context of this. But Nick Saban went on to the Paul Feinbaum show, which we love so much. And this is one of the quotes he said, given they were talking about NIL, transfer portal, all of that. It says, quote, "One of the things I'd like to see us be able to work back to is everything in college football. This is what he said. These are not the words I'm coming up with. One of the things I'd like to see is us be able to work back to is everything college football has always had, parity." Good job, Nick. Great sentence. Same scholarships, same academic support, healthcare, whatever it is. I don't think we have a balance right now, which could affect the parity of college football and athletics as a whole, which is really interesting. Because I don't think Nick Saban actually wants parity. I don't think anyone's truly.
Yeah, he of all people does not.
Parity.
Yeah.
No. Lane Kiffin ended up retweeting, first off, a definition of parity, a state or condition of being equal, especially regarding status or pay. We all know that Saban has like 15 like unpaid interns that function as coaches, but he can't have that many coaches. If I could just give you, here's some fun stats here. These are the number of, and we can talk about this as we talk about like even divisions and stuff. This is the number of winning streaks Alabama has active in the SEC. Obviously, Georgia, 0. Heck yeah. Auburn and LSU, 2-game winning streak. Missouri, 5. Ole Miss, 6. Kentucky, 7. Florida, 8. Vandy, 11. Mississippi State, 14. Arkansas, 14. And Tennessee, 15-game winning streak. I don't think Saban actually believes it when he says, I'd rather. We saw how it was, and he saw how it was last year when he didn't win by as many points as fans thought he should win by.
Yeah.
I don't think he could survive. I do not think that he could survive.
7-5 season. Yeah.
Equality.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way.
Oh, guys, we went 10-4 this year, but we're a really good team.
Yeah. Right. That sounds like him. Yeah.
No, he'd be calling. Hey, can you make this guy? Can you make this guy like a 3-star recruit? We need to it's like because what you would do is like you would limit to how would you actually increase parity?
Right.
You would cap? You would base like a salary cap, a very low salary cap for coaches and assistants. You would cap the number of 4, 5, 3. That's the order. 5, 4, and 3-star recruits.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I got you.
You put 2 or 3 5 stars.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 5 stars, 6 4 stars, 12 3 stars. I don't know how things would work out. They would figure that out. That Saban would be one of those guys who would be like calling people because he's got all the connections.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you make the next start? This guy's basically the next Archie Griffin. I need you to make him a 3-star, man. I need him on my team, and I'm capped on 4 and 5s.
Yeah.
There's always into the nature of. It's weird that I'm almost defending him. It's the nature of competition to try and find the edge. Obviously, within the realms of morality, we would hope so.
Ideally, yes.
Ideally. But we know that when competition is king, this is like. And a fierce competitor like Saban, a guy who has very, very high standards for what he wants to see on the field, he's going to do what it takes to get the team he wants out there.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't want parity. He wants parity for everyone else and him to still be good.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right. Speaking of parity, there's an interesting concept, I guess, if you will, that's being thrown around in the ACC. So this is literally an article from ACCsports.com. They are considering getting rid of divisions as early as 2023. So interesting. Okay, we'll get into it. So if you're not familiar, the ACC in football, they have the Atlantic Division and the Coastal Division. That's pretty standard for all of the conferences. So, right, you've got the Big Ten that has the East and West Division. Same with the SEC. The Big 12 at one point had divisions, but then they didn't have enough teams to have divisions. So, you get where I'm coming from. This has kind of been just a thing college football has had for a very long time. The ACC is looking to get rid of it. What they would do instead is they have a 3-5-5 system. So that means that you would play 3 teams every single year. So let's just use Ohio State, since the 3 of us are Ohio State fans. You would play Michigan every year because that's your rivalry. You don't want to have a year where it's not played. And I don't know, I'll just speculate. I'm assuming Penn State would be a team that you would play every year. And then maybe Illinois, because Ohio State has that weird like Illibuck trophy with Illinois. I don't know. But that's my point. You'd play the 3 teams every single year. And then the other 5, or well, I should say the other 10 get rotated every year. So you'd play the first 5 in the first year, and then the second 5 the second year, and then those teams would rotate, if that all makes sense. So that's essentially what the ACC is proposing. But Johnny, you say you hate it.
I hate it for the ACC specifically.
Okay.
And I hate it for this reason. And that is because, and I'll just go through it for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to read off the ACC Coastal Champions since 2011.
Yes.
So starting in 2011, the Coastal Champions, not the ACC champs. I would like to be very clear about that.
Yes.
That is definitely a different
Most
thing.
of these are not ACC champions.
Exactly. Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Duke, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Miami, Pitt, Virginia, Notre Dame, kind of. And then Pittsburgh this year. Pittsburgh's the last Coastal team to even win the title since 2010. I love that. I love that so much. Not the fact that they haven't won the title, but I love the parity of all those teams. I said a couple teams twice. I said Georgia Tech twice, and I said Virginia Tech twice. That's it. In a 12-year span, well, Pittsburgh, I guess, twice as well. In a 12-year span, you have 3 teams who made it twice. Every other team in the division made the title game. I love that. That is fantastic. If that is taken away of the ACC, those teams will never make the championship game ever again. And I want it to happen. I love the parity and the madness that is the ACC Coastal. There's times that you're arguing and hoping and praying the last week of the season that somehow every result falls in a way that there is a 7-team tie for the division champion.
Right.
I think we have to ask ourselves what we're losing when we take away these divisions.
So I'll answer that question.
We are losing a piece of who we are.
I'll answer that question. You know what we're losing? We're losing the Atlantic Division team curb stomping the Coastal every year in the conference championship game. That's what we're missing. The idea, obviously, is that you're mixing up the divisions, so the divisions no longer exist. You just simply the 2 best teams from the conference play in the conference championship. So that way you don't see Clemson playing, I don't know, Virginia Tech in the championship game and beating them by 50. And obviously that's happened in the Big Ten as well. The Big Ten West has been mostly notably outmatched by the Big Ten East. So it's kind of the same thing. I do agree.
And by Big Ten West, we mean Wisconsin.
Correct. Yes. And occasionally Northwestern on every third year, Northwestern.
Very mathematical.
I mean, it is fun. Like all those teams are fun. Like the Big Ten West was somewhat chaotic this year. Obviously the Coastal was chaotic as usual. Just our picks of who was going to win the Coastal and how horribly wrong we were should tell you enough. Josh, I'm curious your thoughts, because I generally think it's okay. As much fun as it is, these division races, I am personally more interested in watching potentially Ohio State and Michigan play in the Big Ten. Now, I don't love the fact because they'd be playing back-to-back weeks, so maybe that's a bad example. But let's say, what's a better example? Like Oklahoma, Texas. That's assuming Texas is back. But you get my point.
Never.
I'll come up with a better example later. Alabama and Texas A&M, let's say.
USC and Oregon could play each other a
Yes.
second time if they were scheduled in the regular season.
Correct.
And they ended up being the two best teams. You could have USC and Oregon play again. You could have USC and Utah, Oregon, Utah. Like,
Yeah.
not even that they're guaranteed. It makes sense in the way, Aaron, like we're looking at the Big Ten. There's 14 teams now.
Yeah.
There's 14 SEC teams. I think, what was the stat? Texas A&M has played Georgia one time in the regular season since they joined the SEC. That's not a conference.
No.
That's not a conference. That's just a loose configuration of teams that happen to align with one another. This is not conferences anymore. And there needs to be, like many things in college football, a standardized process of what's going on here. This is also a system where the ACC is playing 8 conference games and the Big Ten plays 9. So that is a different nuance there as well, which the Big Ten does try to rotate and does a better job rotating than the SEC does, because the teams don't hold on to. Ohio State doesn't get to play Illinois every single year. Guess what, guys? Like, the Total Trophy is really cool, but you don't get to play them every year.
Yeah.
Alabama getting to play Tennessee every year. Like, no, like, you don't get every
they'd probably keep that
single
one, but yes.
No, but that's my point. Alabama wants that. Ohio State would have loved to keep Illinois on the schedule every single year. Like, let's be honest about that. So, like, it does make sense as these conferences have gotten bigger that you would even have 2 teams who didn't even play each other in the regular season playing in the conference title game. Like, that is possible to happen in all of these conferences. Is it likely? Maybe, maybe not. But there is that problem in the Big Ten specifically, like you said, though, Aaron. Like, man, you really don't want Ohio State, Michigan, because there are plenty of years where you're going into that game and it's determining the East winner. And there's many years where you're just like, well, we know we're playing them again next week. And it certainly would, as great as the game as it is, it would diminish that regular season version of the game. And so I think just the sheer number of times and the likelihood based on evidence, that would happen more often than not. And being someone who's very invested in that rivalry, that's really a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Where it feels like it fits a little bit easier with Oklahoma and Texas, just because you're playing so far apart that it's not taking away from it, because you have no idea where the two of them are in the conference, because conference play is just starting. And Ohio State, Michigan fans are not going to want to move that game either, because that is part of the tradition.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues there. Alabama and Auburn probably aren't going to be fans of this either. That happens less frequently where they're the 2 best teams, but it happens there too. And you just don't want that affecting the Iron Bowl either. So these teams that have that rivalry that's to end the year, that's tough. That's the tough part of this.
Yeah, and I'm thinking back to, like, one of the things that I would want to preserve moving forward, and knowing how badly the Big 12 kind of shot themselves in the foot a few years ago, is like, with the benefit of divisions is you can have a very definitive conference championship.
That's true. Yep.
Because you have 2 sides. And the Big 12 genuinely got, at least one of the 2 years, kind of shot themselves in the foot back in 14 and 15.
Yep.
Because they didn't have a conference championship. They go, each team plays each other. Really toughest, conference in football. Cool.
It's round robin, yeah. It's just round robin play.
Right. You ended up having teams that canceled each other out, that there was no clear advantage. It was TCU and Baylor had no definitive edge over the other. And so you're like, what can you do? You go to the conference that has a clear division winner. In that case, it was Ohio State, and it worked out fairly well for us, I say, in my humble opinion. I don't know. I think history has looked back on that decision. I think it ended up working out. But when you drop divisions, and maybe this would be something that, I know that the American football system of, like, doing championships, that's not everywhere in the world. So maybe we find another way of counting conference champions, but, like, when you're not clearly playing in, like, divisions, how can you clearly tell who the two best teams in the conference are if they aren't playing the same, like a standardized set of teams that is the very least repeatable by year? Because if you're just playing like 4 random teams and it happens to be a team twice, like that's, for me, that seems very uneven. And that would be my fear of dropping divisions is
you
even
could
if
get
it's
really
imperfect.
lucky one year and play like because the whole purpose of it is like what you're saying, Aaron. You don't want a 8-4 Virginia or Duke team playing 12-0 Clemson. Completely agree. I just don't think the ACC is the best example. It's always been lopsided ever since the conference began. And part of that's because Florida State and Miami have overall been huge letdowns in that conference since its inception, specifically Miami, because Miami's the one in the Coastal,
correct,
who was supposed to always be there. And so they have really, really let their teams down. Virginia Tech's really slipped off a lot since the beginning of the ACC. They were much stronger early on. And so if you look at that from a historical sense, putting Virginia Tech and Miami together in that division was really supposed to be fine because it was going to be Virginia Tech and Miami on one side, and you have Florida State and Clemson on the other. It was really set up quite well, actually, when you think about it. The issue is, you get a random year where the division stinks and there's one team that just slips through. What Josh is saying could easily happen in the Big Ten too. If you're just rotating on a generic 5-team schedule, there's a time in the Big Ten. What if you get to play Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana? It's a down year for Michigan State, Penn State, down year for Wisconsin. Wow. All of a sudden you have Minnesota slip through or Nebraska slip through, and they've played some garbage teams, and they might even have a really good record, but they didn't play Ohio State, and they didn't play Michigan, and they didn't play Penn State, and all of a sudden they're 11-1 in the conference title game, and you're like, this team is fake as heck. I just don't think you can fully get rid of that because that can happen in divisions and it can happen in round robin. You're always going to have fake teams that somehow get kind of blessed with what their schedule is. So I love Wake Forest this year, but they were blessed with their early season schedule to build up that record. Like, that is the reality of it. And you know what? That's fun about college football too, because it gives us a reason to talk about a team like Wake Forest. But the reality is we all knew Wake Forest was not going to have enough staying power to really compete for the playoff. But I think we have to remember, like, we're not going to be able to make the system perfect. Like, there's always going to be flaws to every single one of these systems with the conference realignment. And you do your best historically to match up the divisions, but you just can't always, like, where the ACC's case, like, you did your best. Honestly, if you look at face value, it should be quite even, but it's not.
So I'm wondering, because you bring up a good point, if there was a way that we could almost look at that 11-1 team and it's like that kind of lucked its way into 11-1. And Aaron, I think you would be down for this. If we could build some sort of computer algorithm, some sort of machine learning.
And with a human element, right?
But with a human, of course, human elements, because it is sports.
Yeah.
And if you could kind of build a sort of system where, like, you almost like a you guys watch War Game in the 80s, where you kind of have like a mini war game where, like, instead of it's USA and Russia being fought over a billion times, you have, like, 11-1 Wake Forest playing, I forget what specifically was happening when Wake Forest was 11-1, but
Pittsburgh,
there it is. There it is. Have them play, like, I don't know, like 15,000 times. I don't know. You can do it real quick. Computers are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And then but you do that, like, for, like, the entire top 25.
Yeah.
And then occasionally have some random coaches and editors of a cool magazine vote too, and combine those.
Okay.
And
I think where you're going with this.
I think that there is a way there. The mixture of machine learning and the human element, I think, could make a really good metric for determining.
It's crazy
and
that college football has
those.
It's crazy that college football has been played this long, and we're just now thinking of this. That's crazy.
And, like, in that way, and to make sure that, like, just those 4 teams don't always, that all the other, I mean, there's so many teams, like 128 teams. Like those 124 other teams don't feel bad. We can give them other games to play based on the same machine learning. And all these like NFL stadiums that maybe aren't being used yet, or like, you know, other multi-purpose arenas. You know, we have so many in Dallas. Like, you know, you could just have them play like other little mini championships just for fun, for a little trophy, or take them over to Miami.
Like
you know,
play
take them down
multiple
to
bowl games in Frisco for no apparent reason.
Why don't we play 3 games just in Frisco? I think that'd be great.
I think it needs a name, but that's probably the only thing we're missing from this system.
Well, so a lot of these, I mean, I know that Ohio State's called Ohio Stadium's the Horseshoe.
Yeah.
But like, not everyone's. Most of them are kind of, if dare I say, bowl shaped.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of rounds and flared out of the sides.
Right.
You can call them bowl games.
Yeah.
But like the big ones are the championships, and so you can call this like the bowl championship. It's a whole season, so bowl championship season, bowl championship series.
Either like BCS perhaps. For short, because
BCS that rolls off the tongue real nice.
Yeah.
Johnny's
about to kill us. Johnny's ready to murder both of us for making this exact extended joke for 2 weeks in a row. Well, the good news is no one's listening anymore, so we can say whatever the heck we want.
Yes, we can.
But yeah, I think that's brilliant, Josh. Look, I think I've come almost full circle where if it happens, I'll kind of shrug my shoulders and say, you know what, let's see what happens. If it doesn't happen, I'd be okay with it too, because I think you guys have both brought up issues where if we go to all the trouble, is it really going to be that much better? I think the answer is no. So don't go through all the trouble. Let's just have the fun Coastal Division. So I think I've kind of come full circle on this.
Big Ten, there's an easier solution. Get Notre Dame to join the Big Ten, as they always should have. Notre Dame, you're not special. Get over yourself and join a conference.
There you go.
It's tradition.
All right. I will say we are in trouble because we're almost an hour into the show and we have just now hitting the picks of the week. So this is about to be the quickest picks of the week that you may have ever heard. But real quick, before that happened, or before we get into this week's picks, I should say, we did make NHL picks. That has mostly blown up in our face, except Johnny, you're doing pretty well. But guys, Toronto fans are down bad. Here's a sample. Future editor Aaron will put funny TikTok from angry Toronto fan here. Okay.
Sad.
So that's how Toronto Maple Leafs fans are feeling. I teased it earlier, but literally, Toronto is the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL, and I think people are starting to finally realize that after, I think it's 9 straight elimination games, the opposite of elimination, series clinching games lost by Toronto. Yikes, that's kind of sad. They could not put the 2-time defending champions Tampa Bay Lightning away in Game 7. So that's an issue because Josh had both Toronto and the Dallas Stars as his NHL Stanley Cup. That did not work so well. I had Colorado and Toronto. Johnny, you're looking good, though. You've got both of your teams still in it. Last week, we picked some football. Tottenham won 3-1 over Arsenal.
Yeah,
and they're falling apart. And Josh, you got that correct. So our scoreboard, we finally have a leader. And Josh, it is you. 32 points for you, 31 for Johnny and I. Now,
been a while.
You will know the result.
Glad.
Yes, Josh. Welcome back. It has been a while. I shouldn't, as much as I'm trying to go quickly through this, we should, take a moment and acknowledge your position on top of our standings for the first time in a minute. So congratulations to you, and we'll see if you can expand the lead, because this week we are picking which team is going to win the NBA draft lottery, which ping pong ball is going to be the last one pulled out of the jar, I guess. So there's a few teams that have decent odds. I think there's 3 teams, Detroit, Orlando, and Oklahoma City, who I believe all have the best odds, and that's actually who we've picked.
Detroit, Orlando, and Houston.
Oh, and Houston. Sorry, that's right. You went off book with Oklahoma City. I've got the Detroit Pistons. I think they're going to pick first for the second year in a row after picking up Cade Cunningham last year from Oklahoma State. Josh, looks like you've got Orlando picking first.
I have the Magic because it's literally a ping pong ball. How else am I supposed to pick this?
Correct.
But through the use of Magic.
Correct. And Johnny, you're going a slightly off book, but still relatively good odds with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
They own the draft. Soon it will only be Oklahoma City Thunder drafting drafting players.
All 60 picks, Oklahoma City.
It's all Oklahoma City.
That'd be insane. Imagine that summer league team, though. That's crazy.
Just Thunder all the way down.
Yeah.
That's their true goal, It's not to win an NBA championship.
It's win the summer league. Yeah. At
win
this point,
the summer
that seems
league.
likely. So yes, that happens on Tuesday. So again, you'll know the results of that when this podcast comes out. So you can just update the scoreboard in your head. And guys, that takes us to what we're following. I'll go kind of quickly here as well. If you did not see Drew Brees, he has been an analyst in both college and NFL, but mostly NFL for NBC. And it was announced that he is not coming back next year. So that maybe it's after next year. Maybe he's doing one more year and then not coming back. Either way, long term, it does not sound like Drew Brees is coming back to the broadcast booth, at least for NBC. But that then opened up a can of worms. Well, where is he going next? And he basically said, despite all the speculation, NBC wasn't completely ruled out in the future. And then he threw in the words that like he was considering a multitude of things like coaching, playing, returning to the broadcast booth. And I'm not sure if he was just kind of being a little sarcastic because people were jumping all over his case and basically announcing where he was going for him. But the fact that he said he was considering playing, whether he was being serious or not, has now led to just insane conspiracy theories on Twitter. People making fun of Jameis Winston, who now has a collection of extremely talented wide receivers, and the people are joking that he's going to lose his job. Look, guys, I don't think Drew Brees is going to pull a Tom Brady and unretire at this point. I truly don't. And if he did, then I don't know I don't know if the Saints would truly. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. That's basically
his
my
arm's
point.
done.
His arm's done.
Unfortunately, his arm's done.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
I don't either. For his sake, I almost want him to not, just because I think that could be somewhat ugly potentially. So as it almost was at the end of his career. Like it's not like he was able to. Not that he was bad, but couldn't really move the ball downfield very well at all. So that's certainly not gotten better with time. I can't imagine. So anyways, that's a little tidbit there. What will Drew Brees do next? My guess is some combination of broadcasting and potentially coaching moving forward, but we'll see, because that's what we thought about Tom Brady too. Although Tom Brady is broadcasting. He's got a $30+ million contract lined up for himself after he's done playing football. So we haven't talked about that yet, but that's a thing as well.
Whenever he wants.
Yeah.
Guys, how far do you think you could fall and still survive?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to say 20 feet if I land on my legs and break them first.
Josh, are you saying alive or like alive with full use of your body still?
Alive. Just straight up alive.
50 feet then.
Okay.
50 feet.
Because you're saying just alive. Are you just asking for what the world record is for height fallen while living?
Yeah.
Because I might even go higher then. I'm going to go...
If that's the question, I'm going to go like 70.
70,
I actually am going to go 120.
Oh, my.
120? That's good.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. 120.
Now, to be fair, this isn't like a caveat like, well, he fell like 10,000 feet with a parachute. That's dumb.
No. We're free
without a parachute.
Okay.
Without a parachute.
Yeah.
Yeah, no cheats here. No cheats.
Okay.
Yeah, no squirrel
33?
costume, nothing, no gliders.
Yeah, no cheats.
Yeah.
How about 33,000 feet?
No.
6.31 miles.
Liar.
Well, this is a story of Vesna Vulovic. She was a Serbian flight attendant who currently holds the Guinness World Record for surviving the highest fall without a parachute. Now, technically, she was lodged within the fuselage of her plane, which had exploded. But
oh my gosh,
there was. I'll give you a sec.
No, you're good.
I feel like in some ways that's
I don't know how else
cheat.
to
Am I wrong? Like, is that still kind of a cheat somehow?
I laugh because I don't know how else to react.
I feel like it might somehow be a cheat a little bit still, though. That sounds terrible.
Oh my god.
She was a Serbian flight attendant during a time of Croatian and Serbian unrest. Just happened to be part of a plane that was bombed. She survived. Now she broke like everything.
But
she ironically passed. She had a very low blood pressure, or maybe she had very high blood pressure. What's the I mean, I know what the difference is.
I'm waiting
I
for
know what
Josh
the difference
to
is.
Google what's the difference between high blood pressure and low blood pressure.
Where is high blood pressure on a map?
Yeah, right.
I have the map now, Josh. It's
Low
right,
blood,
right over there.
Low blood. Yeah, I do see it there.
Yeah.
I can see Croatia from here. But no, she had low blood pressure, which actually saved her life because she passed out almost instantly when they lost cabin pressure. But also a combination of her drinking what she says was an excessive amount of coffee right beforehand to kind of fake her way into. She basically just increased her heart rate incredibly to kind of fake her way through. She knew she had low blood pressure. She wanted to go to work. And so she faked her way into it. That way she didn't get flagged and because that's dangerous when you're up that high.
Right.
Ended up saving her life. She broke quite a few ribs, all of her legs.
It did and it didn't because she could have just not been on the flight.
Pretty much just not been on the flight. Hey, no, Johnny, we're not thinking that.
I mean, if she didn't drink all that coffee, she also wouldn't. She wouldn't have even been on the flight.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have been. That's so much. That's not as cool.
True.
All right. And here's the thing. She was partially paralyzed for a little bit, but she actually made a full recovery. The only thing that she really has, she has a slight. She died in 2016. She had a slight limp for the rest of her life. And this happened. The thing happened in 72. So she lived pretty much the rest of her life. She lived in a normal life, except for the fact that she wanted to go back to work. She wanted to go back to being a flight attendant after making a full recovery, and her airline company went, "Hey, no, you get a desk job. You get a desk job for the rest of your life."
But hear me out. The company could have been
but then she got fired.
What?
Because she ended up because she was part of the Socialist Party of Serbia, and she was outed during the bulldozer revolution of October 2000. She never got arrested because at this point she had been going every year to the crash site and doing a commemoration of the crash. She was too popular within Serbia to actually be arrested. There would have been an even bigger revolt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so this actually ended up securing her political position. And then she just kind of did blogs and stuff until she died in 2016. She just grabbed she ended up grabbing enough of a pension where she just kind of lived the rest of her life in her little flat.
She should have good enough of a pension.
Yeah, seriously. I was going to say the company, on one hand, I understand why this company would not want her back as a flight attendant. On the other hand, she fell 33,000 feet and survived. There's no chance she would actually die on the job. If you fall 33,000 feet and don't die, you're just invincible.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no reason to be afraid of anything anymore.
Yeah.
Except going through that exact same thing again, maybe.
Yes,
but
because that's horrible.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's insane.
Yeah. Now, so because that's technically maybe cheating because she had a plane to kind of.
No, that's not cheating.
Okay.
It is a little cheating.
Okay.
It's just a little bit. She didn't totally free fall.
There's a guy who also, and I'm trying to figure out who this guy was, because at some point it doesn't even really matter because you just hit terminal.
Right. That's what
that's
I think
why I
don't
think
think it's cheating.
It's 2 or 3,000 feet. You're at terminal velocity, so at that point height doesn't matter. The guy who did survive on his own without a parachute, fell into some trees. It was 20 or 22,000 feet.
And he fell into trees.
He walked
I feel
off.
That just impaled you.
He walked. And then he walked away from his fall. He just walked. I'm going to find the guy right now. Johnny, you do your thing, and I'm going to find this.
Again, we're laughing because I don't know how else to react to someone falling 22,000 feet.
Ivan Chusov. Or was it... Maybe it was Nicholas. Hold on. You do your thing, Johnny, and I'll find this.
Oh my gosh. What I'm following is not as crazy, but it's kind of fun and petty. And that was First Take this morning, had Patrick Beverley on it, and it was fantastic.
Yes.
And it was fantastic because ESPN did not, I feel like they had Pat Beverley on retainer, and only if Phoenix lost. Because it would not have been even close to as fun if Pat Beverley comes on after Phoenix wins that series. So and he was as petty as could be and was dropping as many hot takes as possible about Chris Paul specifically. I mean, these guys are enemies. So I think everybody on Twitter and everybody in general was thinking about, man, like, what would it be like to have your arch enemy on national television for 2 hours, not even just like 10 hours after your biggest failure? So that is kind of what I'm following. So the drama on Twitter, Patrick Beverley clearly earned every single dollar First Take gave him to be on that show this morning. So it's quality. They're mostly incorrect, pretty flaming hot takes, if I'm being completely honest, but they're fun. And him and JJ Redick were pretty fire on there with Stephen A. I kind of wish Kendrick Perkins would have been on there too, because I think it would have just turned into a brawl. So that would have been fun.
Mm-hmm. Josh, did you find it?
Tell us more about falling people.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we want to talk about Nicholas Alcamade.
Okay.
He was a British tail gunner in the Royal Air Force during World War II. His bomber was shot down over. They saying technically Berlin, technically a part of Germany that has mountains. Johnny, you know me in geography. Germany, mountainous.
The Alps?
You know where it is. Sure, why not? He felt his. I'm here for the fun stories. You can go put a pin on your map about it. But
kind of right there.
Thank you.
The depth perception
see Italy.
is completely
the
off.
boots. I see the boots of Italy. Kicking Sicily. But he fell 18,000 feet without a parachute because his was burned up when his plane was shot down. So he just jumped out. He's like, I'd rather just jump out and at least get myself away from my plane that's on fire. Sure. He fell 18,000 feet, fell into some pine trees and some snow, sprained his leg, and then walked away.
Oh my gosh.
From 18,000 feet.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't either. And then the guy, relatively a normal life.
Wow. That's crazy. I don't know how to react to that other than news that JUCO transfer quarterback General Booty has announced that he's committing to Oklahoma. That's my reaction to that.
So, outstanding.
Number 10, Oklahoma, General Booty.
I look forward to watching General Booty own Texas for the next 4 years.
Yes.
Guys, let's go to the Cotton Bowl this year. We can walk to it from my place. Let's just go.
I want to so badly. So badly. We'll see. In order for that to happen, you guys should subscribe to our YouTube channel where we've got videos being posted there as soon as future editing Aaron has a chance to actually put those out. But yes, we've got videos there, including the weekly live stream of this very podcast. That's available Monday nights, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can also watch the replays of every podcast if you'd rather see our beautiful faces instead of just our voices. Come check us out on YouTube. We'd love to see you there. And yeah, I think that wraps us up. So yeah, there's never a good way to exit the episode after one of Josh's what we're following. Sometimes I just kind of feel like I'm staring off in the distance, like,
May
all right, and
your falls be less than 18,000 feet.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe just jump.
Yeah.
6 feet.
Yeah, at most. Or just walk like a normal human
Also,
being.
if you do fall, I do know this. If you do fall and hit terminal velocity, you gotta you go legs first.
Yeah.
Not like to like pin yourself down. Like you go and like, maximize your body like you see, with the I don't know why I'm doing visualizations for a podcast, but you guys have seen Mission Impossible. They jump from a plane and they do the thing. We've all played Halo.
Yes.
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious, exactly, but without cars.
That's not the Fast and Furious.
And then right at the last second,
family either.
Rotate yourself up. Well, you can survive anything with family. I mean,
yeah, that's Josh. That's the most important part you left out.
There it
is.
If you survive everything with family.
Yeah, if you're falling at terminal velocity, grab your family. That's the answer.
Grab your family. You sit feet out, like pretty much you want to crush everything that is not life-giving.
Oh,
So the balls of your feet, your legs, all of that, that's not your head or your torso.
Oh gosh.
Also try and aim for trees and snow. Also, maybe
Why
be British.
trees? That feels wrong.
It's
like aiming for trees makes no sense.
It's
no
the
makes sense.
The branches will do something.
It's better than
impale you.
Yeah.
You go flat
maybe.
then.
I don't know. We need to be done. This episode's so
Find
long. We need to be
trees.
done. We'll see you guys next week. We got more NBA, more NHL, more who knows what next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
There's a whole list on Wikipedia. I could just,
Ended
listen to more
at
guys'
Josh's
football stories.
line of "May you not fall farther than 18,000 feet." Just cut it right there,
Yeah.
Aaron. We don't
There it
need
is.
any.
Just we need it one more
this.
time. We need it one more time.
May your falls always be less than 18,000 feet.
Amen. We'll see you guys next week. Oh my gosh.
Fantastic.
That needs to be the actual ending of the. Not all of that gibberish.
Yeah.
As much as I love the gibberish.
Gibberish is good, but gibberish is maybe not the best podcast material. yeah, a podcast of just crosstalk is probably not excellent.
All right. YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate it. Or this morning, or whatever day or time you're watching it. We appreciate you guys. And we got more videos coming your way soon, so keep an eye out on that. We'll see you guys.